Welcome to Godly Play. We haven't been here for a while, so long in fact, that we need to change the calendar all the way around. Past Christmas, Advent, and Christmas to the great green growing time. I'm ready. Are you ready? Let's begin. This is the story of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. In the beginning, the baby was born. His parents named him Michael. But later, when he was a little older, both he and his father changed their names to Martin Luther, after the person who several centuries ago, in the 16th century, changed the way the church worked and changed the world. Martin Luther had changed the world, and Martin Luther King would do so too. While he grew up as a child in Atlanta, Georgia, his family would gather around the table every night for dinner and conversation. Both his mother and his father believed that it was important to talk about serious things, even with young children. Martin loved to play baseball. One day he was playing baseball with his friend, who was white. They were about 6 years old. And the next day, his friend said that they weren't allowed to play together anymore. This was because Martin was black and his friend was white. Martin went home so sad and upset, and his mother took him in her lap and talked to him, told him about slavery, how Black people had been slaves in America in our past, and about prejudice, which is not just in the past, but even happened then and happens now, which is when someone learns to hate somebody because of the color of their skin. Martin grew up and became a preacher at their church, the Ebenezer Baptist Church. He went to school for so long that he even got a doctorate, so he was now the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. He preached sermons, he studied, and he learned. One day, in Montgomery, Alabama, a woman named Rosa Parks decided that she was not going to get up when the driver asked the black people on the bus to move towards the back to make room for white people. Rosa stayed where she was, even though she was black. She said she wasn't tired, she was just tired of injustice, of things being wrong. Dr. King helped to organize the black people of Montgomery, Alabama. For more than a year, they refused to take the bus, and so the bus company didn't get their money. Meanwhile, they walked to work, or walked to school, even if it was very far. They kept this up, and do you know what happened? After 381 days of this protest, the city changed the rules about who could sit where on buses to make it fair that anyone could sit anywhere. This was very good work that Dr. King was doing, but not everybody liked it. Some white people got very upset and angry They would threaten him, not just with words, but sometimes with knives and guns. And when he led peaceful protests, sometimes he would be arrested and put in jail. He went to jail more than 20 times. While he was in jail, he continued to write and think and pray and dream of how God was calling us to make our country better. When he was 34 years old, he gave a very famous speech, saying, "I have a dream that my children, when they grow up, will be judged on their character and not on the color of their skin." He reminded of us all to work for a day when the color of your skin does not change how you are treated in the world. He continued to teach and write and talk and preach. He won the Nobel Peace Prize the same year that he made that speech. And the next year, many of his dreams became law in the Civil Rights Act. There was still much work to do. He traveled the country. He worked, he organized peaceful protests. And in 1968, when he was in Memphis, Tennessee, to organize their workers for a peaceful protest, he was shot and killed as he got ready for the protest in his hotel room there in Memphis. They took his body back to Atlanta, where he had been born, and buried it there. We remember the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. today because it's near his birthday. And we remember the work he did to make our country a better place, the work he calls us to do, and the protests that he led. I wonder what your favorite part of this story is. I wonder what part of this story seems the most important. I wonder if there's any part of this story that seems especially for you or about you today. I wonder if there's any part of this story we could leave out and still have all the story we need. Thank you for wondering with me.